Today marks 1 week since Boston cleared the last of scores of tents and the people inside them from the area known as Mass and Cass. City officials say they've placed more than 150 people who've been living in the encampment into short-term housing, including a 41-bed program at a hotel in Mission Hill, a 30-unit cluster of temporary cottages at Shattuck Hospital in JP, and a 60-unit vacant hotel near Mass and Cass, in addition to more traditional shelter beds. But that doesn't cover everyone, including at least a few people who said they hadn't heard from anyone from the city about those options until eviction day. And of course, the tents in Mass and Cass were just one symptom of a much bigger problem that's not going away anytime soon, as Mayor Michelle Wu has acknowledged.
I want to be clear that we did not solve homelessness. The push and the fight to address homelessness and substance use and mental health continues with even more urgency now.
I'm joined now by the woman who's leading that fight, the mayor's senior advisor on Mass and Cass, Dr. Monica Bharel, former state public health commissioner and former chief medical officer for Boston Healthcare for the Homeless. Doctor, it's really good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Nice to see you again, Jim.
So a week in, what percentage of the people who were living near Mass and Cass can you account for, Doctor?
When you say account for, you mean that we
know where they are?
Sure, absolutely. So, first off, this approach to the situation at Mass and Cass was a different approach. It was focused on public health and equity. And the reason we can account for anybody there is we actually did a survey, Jim, a pretty extensive survey of individuals in the beginning of December to understand what their individual needs were, their medical needs, their issues related to substance use disorder, their mental health needs. And those 145 people, which you've heard us speak about, those individuals are the ones that we were focused on in finding a viable option, a way for them to be transitioned out of those spaces. And at the end of our work on January 12th, I'm happy to say that 154 individuals were placed in one of those options you spoke about.
How many people was a viable option not found for, Doctor?
Yeah, so, to answer that, I'd like to explain a little bit of our technique. So when we looked at this way, we said, as you mentioned, Jim, these encampments are a symptom, right? They're a symptom of what is not working and what is failing within our systems for individuals who are unsheltered, many of whom are suffering from the medical illness of substance use disorder. Sure. So the first step for us in approaching this was, well, why are those individuals not able to avail themselves to the services that are there? So when we moved forward, the mayor set a deadline for us. She saw the urgency of this and she set a deadline in order for us to address this issue. We said, how do we approach this differently so that it's a solution that is really person-focused and focused on the individuals who are living in those encampments? So what we did was talk to those individuals and set up new options that are low threshold options, which means it provides people with their basic needs and it provides people with the services that they need.
But how many people was such a viable option not matched up with? That's what I'm trying to find out, Doctor.
Right. So every day, outreach staff from the city and other nonprofit and private organizations go to these areas and talk to individuals. So once we started this project on December 15th, we spoke to individuals every day, 7 days a week, to talk to them about what their options are. Some individuals had other alternatives that they were going to. Some individuals couldn't decide at the time, and many individuals were able to avail themselves of these resources. So it's hard to put numbers on that because, as you know, it's a transient group of individuals, but we offered everybody a place to go in order to be able to move the encampments. And the goal of the encampment moving, by the way, was in the safety of the individuals there, because having spent so much time there, I can tell you, Jim, the living situations there was atrocious, unsafe, and not good for the individuals.
Do you and the mayor yet know what the stage after the short-term transitional housing is for people who need it and want it? Do you know what that is yet or no?
So these temporary solutions that were put in place to fill this gap, these are temporary solutions. And now the work is happening to think about how to restructure our system. And we're in the process of that work, and I'll have more to share on that as soon as we're able to flesh that out a little bit more. But it's how to restructure our existing system so that individuals who are unsheltered, often suffering from substance use disorder, have a viable option of where they can go.
Is Long Island in the future mix? I know the mayor went out there, wasn't crazy about a reopening during the campaign, seemed to say it's at least a possibility, medium or long term. Is it a possibility? Bridge or no bridge?
All options are on the table. And we did go out there recently to say, as we think about our medium and long-term solutions, can Long Island fit into that? And we're looking at that. It hasn't been used in a while. The buildings need some work. We need to think about how we would transport people there and back safely, and what level of stability we'll need people to be in. I know you know this, Jim, but the individuals who we're serving are individuals who are very fragile, have multiple medical issues going on and other things that need to be cared for. These temporary solutions, we meet every day with the providers of these programs, and these temporary solutions are allowing them to meet some basic needs of shelter, food, support, so that they can begin to address those medical needs, those addiction needs, those mental health needs, and reintegrate with society.
It seems to me quickly, if we can, one option that was never seriously considered, and correct me if I'm wrong, Sheriff Tompkins had offered South Bay Correctional providing exactly what you're suggesting. Mental health treatment, substance abuse treatment. He said to Shirley Young the other day, we're still ready to assist, as you see there, and obviously it was primarily for people with outstanding warrants. His silence on that meant that thank you, but no thank you is the response?
We really appreciate Sheriff Tompkins' input, and one of the reasons I really appreciate it is because this is all of our problem, right? These are our neighbors, our brothers, our sisters, and we have to lead with compassion and be creative and innovative. The mayor has asked us to transform the system, to transform the way we think about this. So we're leading with creativity and innovation. Specifically to the sheriff, we are in communications with him, and I went and visited the sites. They are locked cell-like sites that aren't appropriate for an individual who isn't involved in the system. But we continue to talk about creative options of how that space might be used for individuals who are appropriate.
What happens when, and this is inevitable, I assume you'd agree, when individuals return to the Masson Cass area, when the weather breaks and it's spring and larger numbers of people return to the Masson Cass area, what does the city do then, Doctor?
So our approach is very much about finding individuals viable options and not having the encampments return. Jim, as you know, during the pandemic, the issues of being unsheltered, the issues of having substance use disorder were just compounded and made so much worse. What we're working on now, the goal is for there not to be encampments at Masson Cass. We have a citywide approach, which includes the police department, who are doing regular patrols of the area, and we are overseeing the area so that encampments don't come back. And as we look towards the future of the plan, we do not want the encampments to come back in the summertime. And these intermediate and long-term solutions are geared towards that. So it's really a citywide effort of helping individuals. And Jim, you may have heard that we talked about, would there need to be arrests? How will we approach these individuals? When we surveyed them, the vast majority of individuals said, yes, I would like to look at an alternative to being here. People do not want to live in those horrific conditions. And as we approached people are willing to move and look at these other alternatives. So even now, if we continue to engage people, this is just a step on a long journey to addressing these issues.
Dr. Bharel, before you go, I really have great praise for the mayor. Even if people aren't crazy about every detail of what she has done here, the fact that she attacked this issue so early on with so many issues confronting her, I think is praiseworthy. I want you, before you go, to disabuse me of my major concern about why this will never really be fixed, despite the fact that all of us who are not directly affected by what's going on in that neighborhood talk the talk. My sense is, at the end of the day, if we're not directly affected, the vast majority of us don't really care terribly much about people suffering like those people are suffering. Can you, in 30 seconds, tell me I'm wrong?
The people who are there at the Mass and Cass area, who are outside, who are suffering from addiction, these are our neighbors, these are our family, these are our friends. We have to lead with compassion. This is a step in the right direction. We have a long journey ahead of us, and it'll take all of us working together to come up with creative, innovative solutions. Mayor Wu has given us the space to come up with transformative change that will truly change the system for the better and help the people that we're looking to aid.
Hope it happens, Dr. Bharel, and I hope people support it. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim. Nice to talk with you.
Nice to talk to you, too.